Hello, welcome everyone to Less of Me Success Stories. This is our inaugural episode number 1. And I'm really excited to get this started. I know Scott's excited as well. Well, we really appreciate the support. We just put this out there a week ago, and we've been gaining subscribers, and we're just very thankful for everyone for being on board to join us while we just start this brand new adventure to share stories, success stories of people that we know or people that we don't know who have been successful by changing their diet. Before we get started, I want to just make sure that everybody's aware that we are not medical professionals in any capacity, and neither will our guests, even if our guests are in the medical field, they're not your provider. So as always, we will always recommend that you seek your advice from your own medical professional before trying anything new within your diet. So please don't take anything that we say and just do it. Go ask for assistance first. Again, this is Less of Me Success Stories, episode number 1. Please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. We really appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and get started now. Our first guest tonight is our co-host of this channel, Mr. Scott King. He has been NSNG since 2018 and has lost a substantial amount of weight in that time, which I'm sure he'll tell us all about. He went from not being able to get out of a chair or to walk very long to being a triathlete. Period. He is a triathlete. I know he sometimes says he didn't do very well, but he did it. He completed it, and that makes him a triathlete. And he's now signed on to do something even bigger, which I'll allow him to tell you about. Before we get started with him telling us his story, though, since this is our first episode, Scott, I have a question for you. So welcome to our show. I'm so glad you're here. And my question is, why did you want to do this show?
Well, thank you very much. And yes, I am equally excited to have this, and just hope we reach out to people and just impact people's life and health for the better. So the reason why I wanted to be part of this is just this way of eating, this lifestyle just really needs to just be spread out there and just to get thrown out there. There are so many people like I was, like that are just hopeless and feel like there's no other option that need to hear this. And while this is definitely making me step out of my comfort zone, this is why I do this stuff. This is why I have social media, is to just get the word out there and just let people know that there is a possibility, there is a change out there. It's not as bad as you think it is, and just to inspire people and encourage people to make that healthy change.
That's basically exactly how I feel. No, it makes total sense, and that's exactly how I feel too. It's taking the conversations that we have on our social medias or with the people that we have met along the way and putting it out there for everyone else to hear. So that's what's really exciting for me is getting the stories out there. Each individual has a story to tell that is inspiring in some way to someone, and they need to get out there to help even more people. I appreciate that. So now I'm going to go into our actual format, and I'm going to turn the times to you and have you tell us all about your story. And we do have people here. I'm not sure if you can see the YouTube, but we have some people on. So everyone, once he gets finished telling his story, we will open up for questions. The chat is open, so please ask your questions in there. And as we get near the end of the show, we will start asking your questions. Take it away, Scott.
All right, and I'll start off with saying I'm an open book to a fault. So if any question you have, I'm fine with discussing. So don't worry about that. So yeah, like you hit on, I've been but we'll go back further than that. A lot of you know my story, but just in case you don't, here we go. I want to say it was about 18 years ago. I had gastric bypass. I was well over 550 pounds at the time, and it was a last resort, but also like an answer to prayer. So I thought it was the be all end all, and I had the surgery and lost weight. With it came, the health issues that come with having gastric bypass, hypoglycemia. I've had my intestines kink a few times. It required surgery, which that's just kind of gross in itself. But hey, that's reality. And I did good for a while, and then the weight just started creeping up and creeping up and creeping up, and I just could not stop it. Nothing I did would stop it. I tried everything again, and it's a horrible feeling to know you're going back down that spiral. And that surgery, the be all end all, was not the be all end all. So I didn't know what to do beyond that. So we get to about 2017-ish, and I don't know what my weight is anymore because I'm just too heavy to weigh on any scale that I had access to, including my doctor. So since the gastric bypass was so fantastic the first time, I pursued having the gastric bypass the second time, and I was denied. And that destroyed me, absolutely destroyed me, because nothing's ever worked. And I thought for some reason I would be more successful with the second gastric bypass. So during this time, I was listening to a podcast with Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew podcast, and they had this guy Vinny on there, Vinny Tortorich, talking about NSNG, and it basically sounded like keto to me. And so I just shut it down because I know there's a lot of macros you have to figure out, and I'm not a figuring out kind of person. And no, I'd quit the first day. I'm better with just telling me what to do and not to do. So I kind of was researching it, and like more not than anything. And as Vinny likes me to tell this story a lot, is my moment of change was we were sitting on the front porch. At the time, my daughter was about 2.5 years old, and she ran for the street, and I could not get out of the chair fast enough to go after her, let alone run after her. And it was at that moment I realized, crap, my health is so poor that I cannot even do the most basic function of protecting my family. Thank the Lord, we're on a quiet street. There was nothing there, but it was my wake up call I had to have. So I looked at this NSNG and said, I have to give it one more shot. I just can't go out like this. So I started it, and I didn't know what was happening for a while, actually, a few months, because again, I couldn't weigh on a scale. I assumed it was helping. I assumed it was working. I was feeling better, but it could have been a placebo effect for all I know that I was feeling better. But then the clothes started feeling a little looser, and I still chalked that up to placebo effect. And my wife actually took a picture one time. We were at the park, and she made a collage. This is before I knew what collages were. And she made a collage, and I was like, holy cow, I could see the difference. There's actually a difference. And then she sent it to some of my family members, and they're like, wow, Scott's doing excellent. There's a difference. And that kind of pumped me up. And then I kept weighing on the scale, couldn't read anything on the scale. And then one day, I was able to not have an error on the scale anymore. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is really working. Now I have numbers to prove that. And so I was just sold, all in. Obviously, this was working. Wasn't that difficult once you wrap your head around it and kind of stop uncomplicating things. You realize while doing this how incredibly most simple way of eating around. I mean, I'm convinced of. And then I'd see a 3 in front of the weight, and I'd add a new thing, like, let's see if I could walk down the street. Let's see if I could do that. And one day, I saw a 2 in front of my weight, and that was the biggest accomplishment because just to kind of give you perspective, when I was a freshman in high school, I had to lose, I think it was 16 pounds to make the 255-pound weight limit for heavyweights. And I was at 15 years old. So now I'm kind of getting close to a 14 or 15-year-old weight of mine. And then I just started feeling better. After I started losing some weight, noticing that I incorporated some DDPY or DDP yoga, Diamond Dallas Page yoga, and that really started making my body feel better. I really felt like that was a perfect, perfect storm, really, of and the anti-inflammatory diet, and then all the stretching and just getting your body working good. I mean, that just really complemented each other well. And then, you know, I started feeling like $1,000,000, feeling like I could do more things. Let's see if this jog could be a walk jog. Let's see if this jog could run. Let's see if I could fit on a bike. And then I started coming up with really stupid ideas of like, I wonder if I could, I mean, I've done a 5K before, but I wonder if I could do a triathlon. Because I mean, who at this size does not want to wear as much Lycra as possible? Uh, so I decided, let's start doing some triathlons. And I did my first one and I did it. I completed it. It wasn't a big one, it was a short one, but I still did it. And then I did a second one. I got invited to go to one in Oklahoma where I had the pleasure of meeting the Dobbins and some other friends over there. And I completed that. And then I completed a half Ironman relay where I was the bicycle portion. I did a 56-mile bike ride there. And that was something. I can tell you that was something. And then I got kind of a little lazy after that. And I realized I'm a goal-oriented person. And I realized that I'm not getting any younger. So let's set the biggest goal. What's my dream goal? What's my unicorn goal I've always had deep down inside? And that was a full Ironman. So for those of you that don't know, it's 2.4-mile swim, 112 bike, and a 26-2 run, so a marathon run. So yeah, I like to paint myself into a corner. So I just throw it out there on social media. So I'm the kind of person, if I don't say it out loud or don't put it out there, I could let myself down all day long without a problem. But if I throw it out there and let people know I want to do something, I don't want to look like an idiot. So I committed to it. I'm shooting to do the Texas Ironman in 2025, April of 2025. I will, of course, I'm not just going to jump in and see how it goes. I'm now building up to it. I've been really training hard. I'm going to start increasing my distances of triathlons, but that's my ultimate goal. And yeah, so just to put it in the perspective again, is that when I was at my heaviest, sometimes I'd have to go to the grocery store. And if I could not get a close enough parking spot or my grocery list was too big, I couldn't do it because I had to manage my time walking into the grocery store, how much walking in the grocery store was to do, and getting back to my car and see if I could physically do it. And now, by all technicalities, I'm a triathlete. Not a fast triathlete, but by technicalities, I'm a triathlete and working on becoming an Ironman. So that is kind of like the Cliff Note version of where I'm at.
Well, I'm not sure that you needed to do the Cliff Note version because I know you have a lot more to say, but I just, because we know each other, it always bothers me and I always call you out on it when you say it's a stupid goal or that you put yourself down, because you've accomplished so much and you are so inspiring to so many people that I don't know. I don't know. I know why I understand why you do that, but I don't know. I think you should build yourself up a little more because you have a lot to be proud of with what you've accomplished.
I do appreciate that. And I 100% guarantee within the next hour, our friend Eddie is going to send me a message. What's your problem? Shut up. Stop talking like that.
Yeah. I definitely know that he will do that. So you can let me know when that happens. But we have a question. So I'm going to ask you the question that's on here. And everyone, just so you know, Scott can't see the YouTube. So I will try to do my best to relay to you what's going on the chat. But the question is from Maribel, who is a friend of ours from our Clubhouse days. So awesome. So glad to see you here. Hers says, Please share what day one was like. How did you know what to do or what not to do? And then I'm going to mute myself again. Bye.
That's a good question. Day one, a lot of uncertainty, because day one was going against everything I've ever been taught for my whole entire life. And I thought, dude, I'm going to be the fattest I've ever been here in no time because I'm eating fat. I'm doing everything that Weight Watchers told me not to do. This makes no sense. But if I keep this route or this direction, I'm gonna die anyhow. So I guess whatever. Let's just see how this goes. So that was day one. Day one lasted for about 3 weeks for me. Day one was okay. Just I have to trust the process. I have to make my mind try to wrap around it. And that was the most difficult thing. Again, because you're just going against everything you've ever been taught. And slowly but surely, those preconceived ideas start dropping. It was staying the course, eating real food, realizing, being honest with who you are, figuring out where your trigger points are. I realized I can't trust myself. I'm very much a give an inch, take a mile kind of mentality. Vinny and I have talked about, like, you don't give a recovered alcoholic a sip of alcohol and trust them with it. You can't. I couldn't go say, "Oh, I'm gonna give this a shot," but I'll have this cookie. I couldn't trust myself. So I mean, when I was all in, I was all in, and I truly feel like, that was the best route for me. And I think it's just the best route, period. I can't say it works for everybody necessarily, but it just seems like you prolong, if you just dabble a little bit and don't just cut it cold turkey, you just prolong the transition that you need to take from just to becoming fat adapted. And that keto flu people talk about, they have sometimes, it seems like people prolong that. Like, by all means, being over 550 pounds, I should have the worst keto flu around because I was just so metabolically broken. And maybe a day or so was rough, but it wasn't that bad. And I really attribute it to not stringing along, not dabbling, just being hardcore. And after like that 2 or 3 weeks, mentally and physically, my body was making that change. And then I remember after 3 weeks, I trusted myself to, let's try. I know berries. I could do berries, for example. Let's try a little bit of berries. And after 3 weeks of no sugar, berries was the sweetest candy I've ever had in my entire life. It was just amazing how your taste changes and your cravings for real food changed. So, yeah, I mean, I know I just strung out day 1 to 3 week window, but my day 1 was like 3 weeks. It was just really wrapping my mind around it.
Well, I don't think you're different in any way for doing that. Day 1 is simply that jumping off point, and there is a transition which is different for every person, but it's usually 3 weeks. It could be as long as 3 months. So to kind of get that figured out within 3 weeks is pretty impressive in and of itself. How soon after you started NSNG did you have a consult with Vinny?
You know what? My first consult with Vinny, I've never actually arranged a consult with Vinny. My first consult with Vinny was in the form of a podcast with him. I think I wanted a ballpark it. I would say I was probably a year and a half in before I was starting to get noticed. Like, hey, this guy's kind of losing some weight here. And then established a relationship with Vinny from there. And I've been very fortunate enough that my story, I've asked questions to Vinny before and they turn into podcasts. So I've been very fortunate. Basically, you guys are seeing my consults with Vinny via the podcast. So
yeah, I forgot about that, but I do remember that. And just to reiterate is that Vinny Tortorich is who Scott and I both follow, who I'm sure many of you who are watching right now also follow. And he is the one who has coined NSNG and no sugars, no grains. So we owe him a great debt of gratitude. So we will talk about him and sing his praises. But I do want to acknowledge that that's not all of that our show will be about. We will talk to people who are in the range of ketogenic diets, and we understand that that range is very appropriate for each individual person. We have some more people that are asking questions. You'll know this name. It's apparently some people talk very highly about this person and may rate them with a number that is higher than the number that is used to rate me, and that is Rose. Rose asks, do you still have problems with the bypass?
Hi, Rose, by the way. I won't say you're my favorite Dobbins, but you're my favorite Dobbins. But yeah, I do occasionally. It's nothing horrible. It'll just be, and I'm sure many other people that have had gastric bypass will be able to understand this. It's like no rhyme or reason. It's chicken can usually get me. The drier the food, and chicken tends to be a little bit more drier sometimes. Chicken usually has a hard time with me if not properly cooked, more moist, and certain just basically drier meats that are not cooked properly, or say I'll make a bunch of food and I'll just microwave it for lunch the next day. That could tend to cause problems with me. And this is gross, but gastric bypass patients can understand. It gets stuck, it gets clogged, and it needs to get out of there. And it's a horrible feeling. And unfortunately, it's something I'm going to live with the rest of my life because of the awesome ultimate solution gastric bypass surgery I had that was foolproof, and I was never going to gain weight again. Not that I have any opinions or thoughts on that. But that would probably be my biggest still underlying issue I have. I had made comments earlier about I've had 2 or 3 surgeries on, and I think they call it strictures. And so gastric bypass patients are more likely to have their intestines kink on them. When your intestine kinks on you, you're now more likely to have it happen again. So it's either 2 or 3 times that there's no rhyme or reason to it. My intestine kinks. I'm at the point now where I know what just happened. I can feel it, and I go to ER and I go have a surgery, and yay again. I also mentioned that I have hypoglycemia from that. The greatest thing with that is literally the day I started NSNG, hypoglycemia is a non-factor at all. The only time it's ever been a factor is when I unknowingly have ingested carbs or sugar, and it thrashes me. For those of you that don't know what hypoglycemia is, there's always I'm not super educated on it. It's almost like opposite diabetes, but it hits you where you have an insulin dump or spike or something like that, but you just become lethargic. You can't focus on anything. You're just distant. I passed out from it a couple times before. It's just a horrible, horrible thing. And after the gastric bypass, it was something it took me probably a year or 2 to have it diagnosed. I couldn't figure out what was going on, but I'd be all over the place, up and down. I'd eat and fall asleep, and I'd just you would ask me a question like, oh, what do you want to do this evening? And I couldn't figure out what you were trying to say. I couldn't figure out how to formulate the question because I was just so spacey and out of it from that hypoglycemia. Beyond that, those are the biggest issues that I still deal with sometimes. But again, the eating the way I eat now, it's pretty much a non-factor anymore as far as the hypoglycemia.
That's pretty interesting. I was going to ask about, because he said it is part of your story that you were going to try to get a second procedure. Is that something that actually happens? Do people get 2?
Yes, they do. I have actually 2 friends that recently have had a second gastric bypass surgery. I mean, I love them to death. I'm not going to call them out by name or beat them up over it. But part of me, I'm not. I know my solution was not everybody's solution. but I feel like I've done a pretty good job with NSNG. I'm not the smallest person on the planet, but part of me kind of just says like, dude, it kind of works. Can you just give it a try? Because we are both fully acknowledging that it didn't work out for either one of us on the first round, at least. So why are we removing a part of an organ again in hopes that it'll work the second time? It's kind of crazy to me. And I'm beyond grateful now that I was denied the second gastric bypass. I thought it was a horrible situation at the time, but it was truly a blessing that that happened, because if I would have went forward with it, I would have never known about this lifestyle and just continued to have more medical issues and horrible health. I mean, my health was not that great with it. I was just lighter, unhealthier.
Everything happens for a reason. And so, you're exactly right. Without that moment, you wouldn't be where you are now. And it's so frustrating. I think everyone who has found success has a person or two or three or five who you just want to just like grab them and say, come on, just do this. It will change your life. That for whatever reason they can't or they won't, or whatever gets in their way, whichever blocks them. And everybody's just got to kind of find it on their own, which is why we want to share stories the way we're sharing stories, because hopefully, this will trigger someone to not do that path. It's just, it's kind of mind boggling to me to think that, we all are just kind of generally accepting that cutting out or blocking off part of the stomach is completely acceptable, completely normal, and no human should be trusted with a stomach. So we just cut it out, and that's going to solve every problem. I mean, if we look at that logically, it doesn't make any sense. But I understand you get to a point where you don't feel like there's a way out. But when you see people like you and other people who have had success, boy, if we could get more people to see that and to stop this from happening, which leads me to another question, and it's up to you whether or not you want to answer it. But Maribel has asked about your wife and knowing that she had some issues. So it's up to you if you want to answer that, how she's doing.
As far as like with gastric bypass?
Yes.
Yeah. So my wife is, she's had gastric bypass a few years after I had it. She's doing pretty good still. I encourage her. I try to encourage her gently, pushing her towards, like, even just talking to Anna, because we're both at the age now to where the premenopause, I don't know, one of those things, that Anna talks about benefiting this way of eating with this period of life. But everybody's ready at a certain point. But with my wife, she for the most part has done pretty good still. She's pretty much maintained most of her weight loss. She does have issues with it, and so far as, like I was talking about, the eating a lot. I mean, still a lot. Things can't make its way down, and it has to come back out. But I do most of the cooking now because it's just easier for me to cook what I know is okay. And I've turned out like I'm actually kind of a good cook and I enjoy it. So by me doing that, sometimes it's just convenient to be NSNG because I've now prepared an NSNG meal. But she's not all in on it. She's guilt by association right now with NSNG. Yeah, so as far as any major health issues with her and the gastric, no, not really. Just the typical gastric bypass, food not passing properly. I take it back. Thanks. You just made me think of something. No, she has a huge and significant issue that I don't know how I even glossed over. She cannot take on iron anymore properly, even with iron supplements. So my wife has to now every 2 or 3 months go get iron infusions intravenously at like a chemotherapy clinic, because no matter what she does as far as consumption, like with pills or medicine or anything like that, she can just not take all iron anymore. And we didn't know it was a problem, but she got to the point where she could barely even stay awake. She could barely even walk. She was just so weak, and she was in the hospital for, my goodness, maybe 5 days or so. And they were constantly just trying to build it back up to a somewhat okay baseline. And that was 3, 4 years ago. And so, yeah, now, man, I don't know how I even forgot about that. I guess when it's not me doing it, it's easy to gloss over. But yeah, so every 2 or 3 months, she goes in and gets, for a couple hours, gets iron infusions just to get a passable baseline iron level. It's purely 100% due to the gastric bypass.
And this is just something that's going to be forever for her.
It is going to be forever.
That's these are the after effects from the surgery that nobody ever hears. I'm sure when you sat down that first time for the consult, when you were at your wit's end and you wanted to have this, did anybody say to you, these are the things, like, you're going to have iron infusions for the rest of your life? Or,
right.
I mean, did they list all those things out, or did that just get lumped under, oh, there might be some problems?
Conveniently, none of that was brought up. Conveniently, just like every other surgery, there could be side effects, but all you're dangling carrot in front of you is just like, you're going to be healthier, you're going to be smaller, you're going to be, you know what? When I had gastric bypass originally, they could have told me, you're not going to be that healthy, but you will be skinnier. I would have been, yeah, I don't care, cool, I'll do that. I just don't want to be fat anymore. So just in pure desperation, I would have just taken that. But yeah, you don't think about the reality of the side effects you're going to have quite possibly the rest of your life.
Okay, we still have some questions up here. We still have time, but I have one of my own, because this kind of stuff just kind of makes me angry. Do you feel like people who are larger are being preyed upon?
I 100% do. You could even go back to, I think, the first 2 times I was on Vinny's podcast, is I didn't really have too much negativity to say, or negative things to say about the gastric bypass, because I always said, it was just part of the thing. It made me desire to be skinnier again, and blah blah blah. But as time went on, I realized, like, okay, this is just purely padding people's bank accounts, because there's no money in it for them to say, why don't you try this way of eating? If it doesn't work out for you, we can always try this. But instead of the first resort being a gastric bypass, that should be a last resort. We should treat our health with food, not by cutting out an organ. So it was after hearing Vinny a couple times, it kind of clicked, like, no, I'm kind of pissed about this. I'm not okay with this anymore, because I was very much preyed on. The keto lifestyle, NSNG, this way of eating didn't come out 10 minutes ago. It's been well known. It's just people, medical field, are just so, I don't know if I want to say ignorant, or just so stuck in their ways, that this is what we're taught. This is the only way that works, and there's no other options. Now I'm like, nah, you can treat so much of your well-being just by what you intake. I mean, if you're taking I'm a Christian. I'm pretty outspoken about that, and I know God designed our bodies to take on stuff and it to nourish us properly. There's no shock when you consume pretty much a science project, a chemistry experiment with just nothing but processed foods everywhere. It's no shock that we put on weight, because our body has no clue what the heck to do with it. When you take on real food, the most simplest of food, not an ingredient list of, like, just basic simplicity, your body, guess what? You get energized properly, you get full, you feel full longer. It's almost like it kind of works the way it should have worked, because you're doing just that. And I think by doing this, you are consuming the way your body was designed to work.
And I think the only doctor who I've heard who's a bariatric surgeon who's ever just tried to counsel people out of the surgery is Dr. Robert Sivas. It seems to me like the rest of them are just enjoying getting that paycheck. They must love getting in there and doing that surgery because they're getting a lot of benefit out of it. And there's just all these people just left in their wake.
And to intervene really quick, I was on Dr. Tro's podcast a few months ago, and he flat out said, we should apologize. The medical field is doing a disservice for pushing the gastric bypass. All they are doing is securing a patient for the rest of their life because you're going to have medical issues for the rest of your life after it. It's just developing a new clientele. And not everybody, not all doctors, but so many of them see it as like just padding their bank account instead of, there's not much money in it for them to just tell you, why don't you eat healthier? Why don't you be more mindful of what you take in? Here, try this route. It's bad business.
It's I mean, all of it is just mind boggling. I don't understand it. I guess none of us understand it, and that's why we're all here. Because we had to fight our way out. We all fought our way out of something, and that's the thing that you've been fighting your way out of. Before we move on from gastric bypass, Maribel had another question, and that was, do you take supplements, and does your body absorb nutrients?
I have been very lucky that I don't take supplements. The only thing I've ever been low on, and it was slightly low, was vitamin D, and I just get outside. That's not a big deal. So no, I've been very fortunate enough to not need it, and I 100% attribute it to the foods I eat now. I mean, I just eat everything I eat, nutrient dense food. So I've had zero issues. And actually, I just did another blood panel on Monday. No, what day? Wednesday. On Wednesday, waiting for those results. But I've had every year, sometimes more than every year. I've been doing like wellness checks and blood panels and blah 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 blah, and they just come back flawless. I mean, I've gotten to the point I don't tell the doctors necessarily how I eat because I don't want them to go in with a preconceived notion and then look for stupid stuff and try to make up things. I just tell them, is there anything on there that would that tells you I need to do something different? And they're like, oh no, just keep doing what you're doing. So, hey, I'll do that.
I hate that. I mean, it's good that you're getting the blood work done. I hate that we all do that thing where we have to kind of hide what we do. Hey, my dog eats raw, and I took her to the vet, and they were like, what do you feed her? And I was like, just whatever we have in the house. Like, I don't want to have to deal with that conversation because I think I'm doing the right thing for her. And I'm doing the right thing for myself. You're doing the right thing for you. And I get that they're educated and they know their stuff, but a lot of that stuff is coming from, we were talking about this on X today of, studies that have been retracted, but these studies that have been retracted are all still getting quoted all over the place. Nobody knows that they've been retracted. They just keep quoting them over and over again. So, I mean, that's where information is coming from. That's what some textbooks may be based off of. And it's not just in one realm. It's just all over. It's everywhere that this data is maybe not correct. And then we have to hide, even though we know, look at us, we're doing great. We know we're doing great. We have to hide that from someone who's supposed to be helping us with this.
Right.
And we were not getting that help. I believe that was the last question about gastric bypass surgery. So we're going to change topics. But before I do that, you did mention that you wanted your wife to talk to Anna. So I do want to make sure that, because we're our own thing, that we recognize that that's Anna Vocino, and she has annavocino.com, Eat Happy Kitchen, and Eat Happy 2 cookbooks. They're very great. They're basically the food Bible to anyone who is NSNG, because she's the co-host of the Fitness Confidential podcast. So we just love her to death. But also, if you're low carb of any sort, get her cookbooks or go check out her webpage, because she has great information out there. She will get you set up in the kitchen for sure. So, and that's a key point for being successful when you change your diet, is learning how to cook for yourself. And she's got amazing recipes. So I just wanted to cover that base before we moved on. Matt asks, what made you want to do the Ironman? And then I'm going to tack on, because he's my husband, so I can do that. I'm going to tack on, what does your training regimen look like?
What made me want to do the Ironman is I wanted to do something big by the time I turned 50 years old. I'm 46 right now. I wanted to do something big. There's multiple reasons on the Ironman. It's always interested me. I think it's like one of the greatest tests of physical abilities. And being somebody that spent 90% of their life without any physical ability, I just feel like, hey, this would be like the ultimate of check this out. Look what I could do. You know, like Stuart from Mad TV. Look what I could do. I just I feel like, yeah, it feels like the ultimate proof to everybody that this guy did an Ironman. And I do it for the reasons why I do it too is there's just so many reasons. Is one, I hope something as big as this gains a lot of attention, not for myself at all. Because truthfully, I freaking hate social media. I wanted to gain traction because I want to get out to people who are like I used to be. That's always been my desire to do this, is not to ever say, hey, look at me. It's look at me in the sense of like, I know how you feel. I was helpless and hopeless like you. I was at the very bottom and I just assumed I was just going to fizzle out and go away. And there's never a better time than now to change your story, change your life. You can rewrite it. You don't have to accept where you're at. And it might look different for you. It's different for everybody. But I feel like taking on this grand thing will show everybody that, hey, anything truly is possible. I could change my story. I could change my life. As far as the training goes, I train 6 days a week, at least. I definitely do 6 days a week. I have 2 longer days of riding and running. I try to put that on the weekend. It's just an extended period of riding or running. The swimming has turned into rowing at the time because my access to the swimming pool, my hours just don't work out. They're not open or I'm not around. I'm in a process of, I have an above ground pool. I'm in a process of making like a tether system for it. This time of year, it's going to be cold plunge / swim training, which I'm not really going for, but I don't think I have an option. So it's going to be a rowing substitute for the meantime. And I I'm starting like literally now to incorporate weight training into it also, because I can't just focus purely cardio. I really got to get some weight training in there. So the training aspect of a triathlon or Ironman is huge. It's very time consuming. I'm out there a lot of times when the kids and family are watching TV or going to bed. The weight training is in the morning before anyone wakes up. And the great thing about it is the closer the event gets, it just gets more and more and more. So I'm going to feel like the laziest person in the world once it's all over with.
You're going to finish and then you're just going to sleep for
Yes,
like 2 months. I
Yes.
do not envy you this cold plunge swim training, though. Getting in the pool is cold enough as it is, but doing it when the weather is cold and you're outside, that's a whole different can of worms.
Yeah, I've got a wetsuit, which unfortunately I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to use. My
To
neighbors
add to your life for a collection.
Yes, because like if anything's hotter than or sexier than Lycra is a form-fitting wetsuit. Uh, and I'm sure my neighbors are going to think I'm insane when they see me in a wetsuit in the backyard in the middle of the wintertime.
They'll be like, whoa, who are these crazy people that moved
Yes.
in next door? Maribel asked, what are your typical, what are your typical meals?
So the simpler the better. Honestly, I just noticed when I try to make fancy stuff, it just stalls my weight loss. Uh, my body responds very well at simple stuff. Like just for an example, I did a burger patty today with a couple eggs, and um, dinner tonight, burger patty with a couple eggs. So I'm not the most adventurous person. That's a great thing, is I'm fine with the same thing over and over again. But yeah, I usually do a couple eggs here and there, and then some sort of protein like meat, chicken meat, beef, or pork or something like that. Uh, Not much of a breakfast person. I do. I'm trying to up my fat intake a little bit, so I do coffee in the morning, a little bit of, I mean, a very little bit of heavy whipping cream, and then I'm adding coconut oil to it to get some fats in there. Um, this has been a discussion between me and Matt and Robin about upping my intake, which just feels so foreign to me. And uh, yeah, so I need to focus on upping my intake a little bit because of the training that I'm doing. It really requires it. And again, it's just another one of those things that just feels so foreign. Uh, you feel like you should deprive yourself, but I know you shouldn't. So I am dialing that in better, but for the most part, it's just really simple. Some sort of meat, beef, chicken, and a couple eggs. I'm trying to cut out the dairy so much. I'm not doing cheese as much anymore. Uh, yeah, I'm not really that interesting of a person when it comes to foods. It's pretty basic. Like, for example, I'm going to smoke a pork shoulder this weekend, and just because they're so darn cheap, and you could make so many meals out of a pork shoulder. I could make that thing last me a whole entire week. It's shredded pork and eggs, shredded pork and eggs, shredded pork and eggs a different way. So it's it's all fine with me. This again, simpler the better. Um, if I'm feeling adventurous, I might get some jalapenos in there.
The quote of the night is, I'm not a very interesting person when it comes to food.
Yeah, yes, I'm not an interesting person, so continue to watch this channel.
Well, we're doing great because you know what? We have 10 minutes left.
Oh,
Although there's a delay, so it'll be longer. I don't know. These are small details. So Maribel says she keeps it simple as well. She has meatballs and marinara.
ooh,
And so that does sound good. Also, I just made a roast. We had pot roast tonight because it was quick and easy. So I threw it in the crock pot and let it do its thing. Simple. We like to keep it simple.
absolutely. I kind of get excited when I have as little ingredients as possible. I don't know why. It's weird. I think it's cool. It's like, oh, look at this big old plate. I got beef, I got egg, I got salt, I got pepper. That is the end of it.
Hey, that was my lunch today. Beef and
Yeah,
eggs.
same here.
It works. It's filling. It does the job. And Maribel says you are the most interesting person. So you may not be the number one Dobbins, and I may not be the number one Dobbins either, but you are the most interesting person.
I'm the most interesting Scott on this channel right now.
Yes, exactly. That's perfect. So we have about 10 minutes left, and I want to ask a question that I hope that we will ask all the guests who are on our show. So if you ever find yourself on our show, be ready for this question. And that is, if you had one piece of advice to give someone who is just embarking on this journey, what would that be?
I kind of hit on it a little bit earlier, but I'll go more into detail on it. It's set small goals. Uh, if you look at the big picture, if I looked at it in the very beginning and said, okay, I need to lose 300 pounds, um, I would not even thought about starting. That's just the biggest feet and hurdle. It's just not realistic. There is no freaking way I could lose 300 pounds. I did. There's no freaking way I could do it. So my first goal was I wanted to see a number on the scale. I did not want to see ERR anymore. I didn't want to see error. I wanted to see a number. I don't care what the numbers. I did not know what the max of my scale was. So I don't know if it was going to say 5. I don't know if it was going to say 4. I just wanted to see a number. And once I saw that number, okay, well, what's my next goal? Okay, I want to see a 425 or something like that. And then I started getting to, hey, I want to see a 3 in front of this. And the biggest deal was, oh my gosh, I'm about to see a 2 in front of my weight. I don't remember seeing a 2 in front of my weight. That's the most insane thing I've ever seen. And then, so I'm not a small guy by any stretch of the imagination. I never will be a small guy. But I had the fortunate experience to talk to Diamond Dallas Page a few years back, who is the creator of DDP yoga. And he said, what's your goal? What's your goal? What's your goal weight? Tell me your goal weight. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've never been in that position before. So I don't know. I'm not a small guy. I guess 245 pounds. Okay. So okay, so it's okay. That's it. That's your goal. That's your goal weight you want to be at. So to think in the beginning that I would one day be at the step of setting my goal weight, that's the craziest thing in the world to me. So that's exactly what it is. It's just small, little, tiny goals, because you'll be surprised. They add up to something huge.
I love that. I know I did the same thing to some extent too when I first started. That's a great answer. I'm looking forward to hearing what everybody else's answers are to that question. Maybe we could write a book of answers to that question. And I do want to say, because we kind of glossed over this, how much weight have you lost? Estimated. I know you don't. I know you don't know exactly your top number. So how much weight have you lost?
So yeah. So how I reference that is, I knew what my weight was pre-gastric bypass because they had a scale for morbidly obese people. I didn't realize I was that weight again when I started in NSNG, but one day after clearing out old clothes I was no longer wearing because I was too small, I realized I was wearing the exact same size pants and shirt as I was wearing pre-gastric bypass, which was a size 62 pant and a 7 extra large shirt. So from heaviest to lowest, I lost 300 pounds, almost on the dot, 300 pounds. After the Ironman relay I did, I got lazy. I joke around and say I had PTSD because it was the windiest race I've ever been in, and it was horrible, horrible. And I didn't want to ride the bike again. I was actually figuring out who to sell the bike to while I was riding it on the Ironman. And I did sell it. And I put on weight. We've talked about with Vinny before, I got really hung up with energy drinks. And even though they're non-sugar energy drinks, and I say that with air quotes, I put on weight. So right now, I've lost, if you want to take now's number, I'm 286, 287 down. So I'm really freaking close to getting back to that lowest point. And I have never hit that 245 yet. And that's, I don't care if I see it for 10 minutes one day. I will get to that 245 here relatively soon, I think.
I believe you will too. I think you have a good goal and a good plan in place to make that happen. And that reminds me, we spoke of our friend Eddie just a little bit ago, and he's kind of credited with being the first person to lose 100 pounds and then run 100 consecutive miles. Do you know if there's any stats for someone who has lost 300 pounds and then becomes an Ironman?
So the best one so when I was deciding is this realistic? The whole Ironman idea. This is kind of crazy. I did reach out to a few people. One guy that I knew that was a bigger guy before, not as big as me, but ended up becoming an Ironman. one of my friends who's a cyclist, former pro cyclist that I became friends with through the NSNG world, and I also reached out to Vinny. All of them said, waiting till 50 is too long. That's way too much training. That's way too long of a span. You need to cut that time frame down. So I did that. Then I said, this is dumb. This is crazy. I can't do this. And I was looking just on YouTube, and there was a guy that lost 240 pounds that became an Ironman. He's done like 6 Ironmans now. And then he told his final weight right now. And I'm like, dude, I'm smaller than that guy. So I have no excuse why I can't do it. So I guess I am doing this. I was trying to find the last excuse to get out of it, and he was the opposite. He was the reason why I'm like, okay, I have no excuse. This can be done, so I need to do it.
That's pretty incredible. So now you know you're going to be that guy for somebody else. Although I feel like you already are that guy for somebody else. There's so many people who gain inspiration from you.
I appreciate that, and like I hit on earlier, I don't like social media, and I can't tell you how many times I go to delete my account or just get off of social media. It is clockwork. I'm ready to kill it, and someone will be like, "Oh, your story inspired me. I'm 480 pounds, and while I'm grateful, I'm like deep down, like, oh, why did you tell me that? I was so close to being off of social media. I guess I'll give it a little bit longer." And I do enjoy hearing those stories. I that's why I stay here, is just to inspire people that feel like I used to feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leads me to, we're winding down to the end. So you may have some things that you can promote, because I know you have a couple of affiliations. So please feel free to promote those things. And then where can people find you on socials? Because if you have not seen him, though I think everyone here has, but all of our future listeners who are not watching us live, they need to find you on the socials to see these incredible before and after pictures, and then to follow you on your training journey to your Ironman. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I am primarily on Twitter or X, or it's Twitter, Instagram, what else, and YouTube. And you could find me the hashtag less of me with NSNG. And there's every one of those has my link tree in there. And so yeah, I've been set up as an affiliate with NSNG Ultra Fat, which is one of the things I take on my extended runs, for sure, extended rides. I did that on the half iron relay. I did that, and Ultra Salt is another one. Pure Vitamin Club Ultra Salt is another one that I'm affiliated with. Both of those are absolutely vital to anything endurance related. And even just the ultra fat is just awesome for a healthy snack. And I'm also affiliated with Ketobrick, nice big old chunk of fatty goodness, and hack it up and make it work accordingly to you. And I hope I'm not leaving anything out, but that is, as far as right now, the affiliations I have. But I'm the Ironman is an extremely expensive endeavor, expensive endeavor. So to add insult to the Lycra, you get to pay a lot of money to wear Lycra, which is just awesome. But yeah, so you could follow me on all those and just kind of follow my journey and see how I'm going along. And if I could, the world that we're in is an influencer world, so the more followers I have, the likelihood of somebody wanting to affiliate themselves with me becomes. So just yeah, why don't you follow me, watch my journey, and hopefully we can ultimately just get the story out there, for not for any affiliate sakes, but just to get it out there to help other people in their journey, and hopefully just inspire anybody what they're dealing with.
So to reiterate, your link tree and actually my link tree as well are on the YouTube channel So if you look at the homepage of our YouTube channel, then both of those are there. So, and that would be also where you can get all of our contact information. But we both have some affiliate links, and our affiliate links are on there.
Right.
But Scott was the guest, so he gets to tout his, and we don't have to talk about mine. They're the same. But I just want to say thank you so much. I feel like we've always scratched the surface of your story, because there's so much there. You know, it's been what, 5 years now that you've changed your diet and gone from, you know, not being able to get out of that chair to where you are now. It's so absolutely impressive, and there's no way we could get through all of that in an hour. But the good news is, everyone, that Scott is the co-host of this lovely show, Less of Me Success Stories. So I'm sure if you come back, you'll get to hear more of his story, and we have some guests lined up for you. I will tell you that because, you know, we like to do things the hard way around here. So we decided that we're going to launch a new podcast YouTube live. Of course, we want to do it live because we're wacky. And then we want to do it in December between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And nobody wants to come on because they're all very busy. So that's understandable. We will not do this live on Thursday. Next week, we're going to just go every other week until we kind of get some things set in motion. We appreciate you all so much for being here with us live. And those of you who are going to catch us later, we appreciate you as well. Please like and follow and share, and all of those things are Less of Me YouTube channel, but also go on our link trees and feel free to follow us at our socials as well. We do not have any specific socials set up except for the YouTube page for this channel. So if you want any more information about this channel, contact either one of us on our socials and we'll be happy to help. Maribel asked if she can give suggestions of speakers, and I told her to reach out to us on our socials. So anyone who has any suggestions for us, we will happily take them. Our mission is to just get these stories out there. We really want to spread some hope with everyone. I appreciate all of you for being here. Scott, thank you so much for telling your story, and we will see you in a couple weeks. Bye, everybody.